So hands down, the most important agenda item to look out for in Baku is a new collective quantified goal on climate finance. Parties agreed to define such a new goal to follow up on the currently prevailing 100 billion per year goal. And this is a very difficult task. So already many years ago, in the context of the Copenhagen negotiations and then in Cancun, developed countries committed to mobilizing jointly 100 billion US dollars per year by 2020. It has not been met in 2020 and 2021. We currently have figures that indicate that it has been met in 2022. But this delay in the delivery on the 100 billion goal has eroded a lot of trust in the process. The question of trust with respect to climate finance is also especially important now, since we are waiting for countries to submit their next round of nationally determined contributions. And their developing countries feel that they need to be shown that developed countries will really honor their commitment to support their climate action through financial support. In Dubai, we had a breakthrough agreement on the first global stocktake under the Paris Agreement. And what was hailed as the biggest breakthrough in those negotiations is the inclusion of language on fossil fuel transition. So the global stocktake decision calls on all parties to contribute to global efforts on transitioning away from fossil fuels and expanding renewable energy capacity. That was huge, because reducing greenhouse gas emissions is really the essence, the root of tackling climate change, right? So this was a big breakthrough. But now we actually have question marks around how this will be implemented. And the discussions in Baku will hopefully provide a strong indications of how this will happen. Whether it happens in the context of discussions on the mitigation work program, or maybe in discussions on guidance for the next round of nationally determined contributions, doesn't really matter. What matters is that we get clear signals that countries are committed to transitioning away from fossil fuels, and that they will make the next 5 years, so the next cycle of their NDCs, really count towards keeping 1.5 degrees alive. I think that Baku will be a huge moment for loss and damage too, because it's really the moment to take stock of the change in the landscape on loss and damage that happened in the past few years. For a long time, a lot of parties struggled to get much attention to loss and damage. We now have the Santiago network, which aims to catalyze technical assistance for addressing loss and damage. And we have a new fund that is currently being operationalized. Baku will be the opportunity for parties to give guidance on the operationalization of these new institutions dealing with loss and damage. Things such as eligibility criteria or the capitalization of the fund. We are talking about exactly how we're going to channel money and to whom. We know very well that we are not on track to fulfill our objectives. We are coming increasingly closer to moving past the 1.5 bar. We have seen a lot of scientists burn out seeing the slow response in policy. We have seen a lot of activists, especially young activists, getting very frustrated about the slow pace of the negotiations. Maybe Baku will help doing that. We have this big milestone next year of the next round of nationally determined contributions, which are supposed to be 1.5 aligned and which are supposed to move us closer to a transition away from fossil fuels. The question is, how will Baku move us closer to that result?